everybody, what's up? How's it going? Welcome back to my channel. I'm Polygolitely, and today I'm going to be telling you another spooky story. I'm just putting makeup on because I'm going to film 2 fragrance reviews. I might do one for Instagram and one for YouTube, or both for YouTube. I'm not sure yet, but that's why I'm putting makeup on. So I thought I would tell you about the scariest place I've ever lived. That is not the same place as my current house or my current apartment, which is haunted. But the haunting here are very, very different than they were in the old place. So let's just get started with that. So what do I want to prime a face with? I guess I'm just gonna prime with what? Oh, there's my primer. This is the Tatch Silk Canvas Primer. Just trying to use it because I forgot about it for so long. So anyway, when I was quite young, I lived, when I say quite young, I'm talking about like early 20s, like 21, 22, 23. I lived in several different apartments because of the fact that we were really young and stupid, and my husband and I didn't really know what to do with money. We were really young. My husband was in the military. We didn't live on the base for personal reasons. But yeah, so we lived in a couple of different places that were standard traditional apartments. And then we had to move, and we needed somewhere that was, we wanted somewhere that was in the same area because of daycare and my job. So we found someone who was renting just up the road from our old apartment, and this was actually just using the ordinary one again. This was actually a duplex, and the owner owned and lived in, one half, and then was renting out the other half. So I'm almost empty out of this one. It was a 1-story, it was basically like a double wide, but like a double, I don't know. If you know what like a double wide trailer house looks like, that was the kind of the shape of the house. And then at the back half was the owner's apartment, and then at the front half was the apartment that we moved into. The owner was a male. Him and his wife lived there. They had no kids. And the rent was affordable for us. It was in a good location, and we thought that dealing directly with the owner would be more just more beneficial than dealing direct to rental companies, because it's really frustrating. That was a lot of talking for not a lot of doing anything. So anyway, I'm gonna just get started with the rest of the story. Everything started off fine. The house itself was really nice. It had a really big living room that opened into a kitchen dining combo, and then the kitchen and dining room had a back door that opened into just like a small yard area. There was a carport at the back of the building where we each had a spot. Like, we had a spot and the owners had a spot. And we would have to drive by their apartment every time that we wanted to go park our car. So we often just parked in the the road at the curb, because it started getting really weird. I'm gonna do my eyebrows. I'll be back. So the owner would start coming over if we got home after 10 p.m. at night. The owner, especially if it was like after 11, holy crap, the owner, like our landlord, would start coming over complaining, saying that his wife was disturbed by us coming in so late, being so loud, etc., etc., which, I mean, that's ridiculous. We were never that loud, but whatever. And just, started getting like super like volatile about stuff. He would start complaining if like the TV was too loud. He would start complaining if our son was being loud. The bedrooms backed up against each other. Like, essentially the two sides of the building mirrored one another. So we could hear them in intimate moments. So it's not a surprise that they could hear my son if he was crying or something. But, like, you had rented to a family with a toddler. I think he was 2 at the time, maybe a little even younger. Like, he might have still been a baby. Like, you had rented to a family with a small child, and then you can't get mad if that small child starts being a child. Anyway, so you're probably wondering, like, okay, well, that's annoying, but where does it get scary? This is where. The gentleman who rented to us constantly was talking about his wife and what, he was complaining about us disrupting her sleep or being weird, or just, being weird, no, or disrupting her sleep, causing her stress. Just, he was always talking about how she was so upset at us. But I don't think that I ever saw his wife the entire time we lived there, which wasn't a very long time, granted. It was only like 6 or 7 months at the most. They ended up kicking us out, which we went gladly. But I never saw his wife, so I don't know, but my husband worked in the military still, and he would be on like 12-hour shifts sometimes. So he would be gone, whether it was daytime or nighttime, for 12 hours. The landlord would start coming over during those times, and not like being like aggressive or trying to push his way in, or being just whatever, like predatory, but just being like creepy.
The Messiah has a Richard Wayne, Gary Wayne.
Coming over and like asking, like, okay, well, how's everything? Is everything okay? Is there anything you need? Like, are you guys doing okay? Or like, just being a good landlord, but only when my husband wasn't at work. Like, a couple of times he probably thought that he was, but he wasn't, and he came over, and my husband said that, like, he would, if he answered the door, this landlord would just turn around and walk away. After that kind of escalation of activity from the landlord towards us, or me per se, I started noticing things like happening around the house. My wedding ring went missing, and then it showed up in a totally different place later. Like kind of shaking, to be honest. It was so scary. My I had a pearl necklace that I had gotten on our honeymoon, my husband and I's honeymoon, and it disappeared entirely. We never found it. And there could have been like tons of reasonable explanations for these things. For example, a lot of question that was like coming up at that time was that we were having some financial issues, and we were like, I would be asking my husband if he had pawned my jewelry, and then got it back and put it in a different place, just not remembering. But he swears to this day, even if I bring it up to him to this day, he swears that he never pawned a single item of mine. That the only things he ever pawned for money were his own. So I don't really know what to think about that. And when it started being a little bit more than just like my jewelry, it started being like strange activity. That's when it just got so weird. Let me finish up with this concealer and I'll be back. Alright, I gotta work fast so that this eyeshadow doesn't, or this eyeliner doesn't set. So, I started hearing things. I was hearing things like, I was out of frame, wasn't I? At night, I would wake up to use the bathroom, but when I'd go to get up to go to the bathroom, it would sound like someone was in there, even though it was only me, my husband, and a baby living in the house. So I would just go back to bed because I was terrified. And a couple of times I thought I heard someone in my son's room, but I went to check and there was no one. That, I kept either convincing myself or letting my husband convince me that things like that were just me hearing things from other parts of the house. That because the walls were so thin that like if I wanted to go to the bathroom and I thought I heard someone there, I was actually hearing somebody in the bathroom in the second side. Or that if I thought I heard someone in my son's room, it was actually someone in the room that would have been the equal room on the opposite side of the house. So I kind of just let that narrative, exist because it was easy, it made sense, and it didn't, it allowed me to be okay with staying there. So as these type of things are happening, my landlord's weird behavior was kind of escalating. He started coming over again. Well, he's again coming over when my husband was not there, but he starts telling me things like, my husband hasn't paid the rent. My husband is a drug addict, that he's seen him using drugs, that I should get out while I can because my husband's going to hurt me, that he's seen him, pawning my things, etc., etc. Not those specific terms, but he's just placing all those blames on my husband, who, I believe he didn't pawn anything of mine, and I know for a fact that he was ever a drug addict or anything like that. Like, he's not like that. So I was just like, what the fuck? Like, I was telling my husband, like, this is too weird. Like, I don't like this. And he was saying, okay, that's fine. We'll start looking for a new place. Like, we didn't have a lease with this particular landlord or this particular home. So it was just a month to month sort of deal. So he was just like, we will start looking for something else. I was like, okay. It started getting more regular that I would wake up in the middle of the night and think that I could hear someone in our apartment. Now, I'm a chicken shit, okay? We had a dog at the time, and she was a very friendly mutt. She didn't bark a lot. Actually, she never barked, which was something we really appreciated because she never caused trouble for us in the places that we rented. So she never barked. Like, I was never feeling like somebody was there. There was never any indication from anyone's reaction that someone was there, but it just felt like someone was coming into the apartment and just going through our stuff, Okay, I have to find an eyeshadow for this. Okay, I really wanted my Charlotte Tilbury the Rock Chic. I couldn't find it. Anyway, I started feeling very uncomfortable being there alone. I didn't really like to be around with just me and my son if my husband wasn't around. So I would usually either go to my mom's or maybe I would pick up extra shifts at work so that I wasn't home. Like, I didn't have to be home when my husband wasn't home. And all this time, I feel so uneasy, so uncomfortable. Now, what you are probably thinking right now is that this creepy ass landlord was breaking into our house at night. And you may be right. I have no proof. I have nothing to back up that claim other than my gut feeling. I do know that he clearly monitored our coming and going, and I do know that I don't know what his wife was all about. I don't know anything about that. So, yeah, definitely that he could be doing that. And if he was doing that, it doesn't detract from how scary this place was. It only makes it 10 times scarier. So we had been looking for a place to rent, and one of my husband's coworkers was going to be buying a house, or had been thinking about buying a house, and if they were going to let us take over the lease on their condo. So we had been kind of waiting on that to see what happened there. And so it was kind of like, okay, we'll just go a little bit longer here and it's going to be fine. One night there was no like it boiled, hit the boiling point. Well, actually, it started boiling a little bit before that. I had come out of the bedroom one night. I, again, needed to use the bathroom. The bathroom was not attached to the bedroom, but it was right next door. So I needed to use the bathroom. So I had come out, used the bathroom, and as I was leaving, I felt like somebody was watching me. But I felt like somebody was watching me from the bathroom. That's the thing. And I was pretty freaked out. Went back to bed, like, just went under, like, lay there under the covers, like, next to my husband, like freaking out a little. And then another night, I had a similar experience where I went to the bathroom, and when I came out, I felt someone was watching me. And at this time, I felt like someone was watching me from my son's bedroom. The way that the bedrooms were set up was there was the main living room here. So here's the living room, here's the kitchen dining, and then a hallway comes like this. Here's the second bedroom, here's the bathroom, and then a little hallway with a door to the master bedroom, which is then at the back here. So I felt like someone was watching me from my son's room, which was right across the hall from the bathroom. And I freaked out. I went into his room, like, to make sure that there was nobody in there, because of course there wasn't, but I felt like there was. Like, I felt like there was. So I just went back to bed. And after those two experiences, the boiling point, it was ready. It was ready. So we're going to tell you about the part of this story that to this day is still the scariest experience I've ever had, after I do the rest of this face. Alright, let me put on this blush and let me tell you. And what I'm going to tell you, no one understands. They don't. I don't think it's possible to understand unless you've been in the same situation. But let me help you before I even tell you what happened. Let me help you. If you have ever been in the woods, camping, out just in wilderness where you've got no control over the forces around you, no control over what happens next, and you realize, like, maybe you see a bear, you know, or maybe a storm comes up and it's kind of freaky. Whatever it is, it makes you realize that if something goes wrong here, there's no coming back because you can't control it. That was what I felt in this moment. One night, right after New Year, I had stayed up after my husband went to bed to watch a show. I'm not even sure what I was watching. I don't know if it was a movie or a TV show, but I stayed up after him to watch the show, which was something I didn't normally do. I was freaked out enough just in general that I really didn't like to be alone. But I was feeling more comfortable. My landlord had gone out of town for a few days, and so I was feeling more comfortable, you know, just in general. And I decided to watch the end of this movie or these shows or whatever it was. My dog was out there with me, and we were sitting on the couch, and I will give you attempt to give you a diagram of how the division between the two main areas worked. So you had the living room and the dining room kitchen. The living room had the front door in, hallway closet in, living room area, wall where a sofa was, window, etc., facing a dividing wall that was only halfway open, halfway enclosing the open area of the dining room and kitchen. So when you were sitting in the sofa watching TV, you could only see the dining room area, the table, the light. You could not see any of the kitchen appliances or any of the kitchen area. So I was sitting there, I was watching whatever it was. My dog, the one that I told you was super sweet, never even barked. I don't like to talk about this a lot because I don't like to talk about dark forces, and this was the darkest I've ever felt. My dog started growling as she was looking at the kitchen. I hadn't heard the back door, the side door open. There was no way, like nothing, no indication that anyone had come in from outside in the kitchen area. It wouldn't have been like someone could sneak in without me noticing, even though I wasn't in that room. It was not big enough of a space for someone to come in without you noticing. I want to make my cheeks a little bit more warm. My dog started growling. She was looking at the kitchen. She was on the floor. She'd gotten off of the couch, but she wasn't approaching the kitchen. She was just looking at it and growling. I was kind of called to her, like asking, like, what, like, hey, you know, like, what's up? What's wrong? She ignored me. I got up to go look to see what was upsetting her. And as I approached that dividing wall, I felt it. There is no other explanation for, in my mind, there is no other, I got some water. What I felt in that moment, what I could tell was in the kitchen, what my dog was barking at, was without any doubt a demon. I don't use that word lightly. I don't believe in a lot of possession type of things, but in my mind, to my mind, that house was possessed, and that landlord probably was too. I stood up and I stood there and I felt to the core of my being that if I walked around that corner, if I went into that kitchen right then, I was absolutely going to die. That I was absolutely going to be killed by this entity. I turned, I pulled my dog's collar till she was distracted and followed me, and then I turned and I ran to my son's room. I grabbed my son out of his bed and I took all of us into the bedroom, locked the door, gone to bed. My husband did not even wake up. He was out like a light. He is not the type of person who believes in that sort of thing, and he doesn't really believe me when I say that to him. But that house was possessed, and that demon would have killed me if I had looked at it, if I had gone and seen it there. It was there. It was waiting to do whatever it planned to do, but it was waiting for me to do something. So just now, my stomach started cramping up so bad, I actually had to just go to the bathroom. So I put on some mascara and eyebrow mascara. Onto a second coat of mascara. So yeah, I just like kept everyone in the bedroom until morning. And in the morning it didn't feel weird. Like nothing felt strange. And that's the thing, is that if these things felt weird all the time, no one would be there, you know? I just got mascara all over my face. But I remember the feeling of looking at that dividing wall and knowing that something terrible waited on the other side of it. And I told my husband that I wasn't going to live there anymore. He said that's fine. You know, we had been having problems with the landlord for some time, just his behavior. And luckily enough, only a couple of weeks later, our landlord asked us to move out because of said issues that we were having, and his claims that we were constantly causing problems, that we were having parties, etc., etc. I don't know, to be honest. I think this man may have had those things happening in his head because there was something going on, but it wasn't with us, that's for sure. So, we moved out. We ended up not being able to move into my husband's colleague's condo because they decided not to buy the house that they were looking at. So the extra time that we spent living there in that place was pointless anyway. I don't know what happened ever to anyone there. I don't know what happened to the landlord, his mysterious wife. I don't know what happened with any other tenants. I don't even remember the address, although I remember what the place looks like. I don't even remember the address. It's I can't even. Sometimes I have nightmares about looking at that wall and knowing that something evil waited on the other side of it. I'm gonna do my lips. I started looking into these things, because I had always thought that a demon was one of those things that you heard about that were in people's houses, you know, making them feel sick, making them feel unwell, making them feel creepy and sick, and just having a general bad aura, bad malaise around it. That's not true. Those kind of entities are negative in nature, but they're beings of negative energy that have come together through the space and time in a spot that basically called the negative energy to it, whatever. This was not that. This was something beyond that. This was something, it didn't need a portal to come through. It didn't need to be summoned to come in. Possession isn't even the right term. It's like, it wasn't so much possessing the environment as it was staying there because of the abnormally high amount of negative energy it was feeding off of. It was something that was entirely of its own, something that science could never even explain with what we know now. It's like that feeling in the woods when you look at it, like you're face to face with a grizzly bear, and you realize there's nothing you can do because this thing belongs here. It's stronger than you, it's smarter than you in this area, in this environment, and it's gonna take what it wants, no matter what you do. The type of thing that no exorcism or it could never remove. So you can go ahead and, you know, think I'm crazy too, but I know what I felt, and I know what I had been experiencing up to that point. And I know what every part of me, from my brain to my heart to my soul, is telling me about it. So that's it. That is the scariest thing that's ever happened to me in my entire life. That sounds kind of odd when yeah, things like my husband was in a car accident, or my son, when we moved to Las Vegas the first time, wandered away from home and I didn't find him for like 2 hours. Those things are scary, and in the human existence, those things are terrifying and would be the worst things ever if they had gone wrong, if they had gone in an opposite direction. But this fear was on an elemental level. Like, it's a fear that can't even be replicated through scary movies, rides. Jumping out of a plane wouldn't be this scary. So anyway, now I've rambled on for way too long. I want to thank you for watching. If you did enjoy this content, hit the like button. I really appreciate that. And subscribe if you haven't already. Alright, I'll see you guys in the new video. Bye!